You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. Well, there's actually autumn in the air. That sudden breeze that trails a slight chill behind it. A narrowing of the light, no longer lavishing itself generously across the garden. And up across the sky, Canada geese, honking and flying in formation to a warmer climate. The growing darkness shadowing my face presages fall and age and winter. The potted plants, the smaller ones, have been moved inside for the winter, especially the orchids, which everyone tells me cannot survive going in and out as they do each year, yet which have survived quite nicely, thank you very much, doing just that. And if you feed them, they will even bloom magnificently in January. Autumn in the air, though, turns our minds to darker thoughts like, God help us, we have an election in 2 weeks. So that needs addressing. And there's a major new study on violence against women that we're going to devote our Inside the Headlines section to entirely. That, and then some election warnings. So let's get started by going inside the headlines. After all, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Like a great sucking hole, a vanishing apparition, a small but lethal patch of quicksand, Trump tries to draw all things negative across our perceptions of the world. It's like the little boy in the Hans Christian Andersen story, The Snow Queen, who has a shard of ice in his eye, and until he can weep it free, it distorts, it poisons whatever he looks at. Sometimes, of course, it's so bleak it's actually funny. You can't help laughing at absurdity. And Donald Trump's vision, or his inversion of reality, is a pathetic absurdity. Example. At one of his recent rallies, someone in the audience was having a minor emergency. Trump reluctantly, and he showed that reluctance, had to pause for a bit, and then for a longer, irritating bit, too, when his mic went dead on him. Now, did he call for a medic? Nope. Did he ask for the audience to aid the afflicted, at least clear a path for them? Nope. He danced, folks. You heard me right. He danced. Well, you could hardly call it a dance. It was a sway back and forth with arms flapping and shoulder jerking. It was all a huge embarrassment, but his audience adored it. And so, for the real point, did he. This falls in the category of, look at me, everybody look at me, me. Everything I do is brilliant and genius, and I am superb, am I not? He called for the band to play Ave Maria and the Village People, though it was difficult to make out which demand confused the most. He persisted in this performance for over half an hour, before finally drifting off the stage dancing, and then the women up there with him smiled and clapped their hands and tried to look as if this was all intentional. Suddenly I could fathom the clownish so-called charm of Mussolini. His charm was his madness, and of course his power, which meant that he and Hitler could do whatever they wished whenever they wished it. No one dared question his choices because of his power. None dare question his power because of his madness. You and I are not powerful, except in the aggregate. Assembling the aggregate can feel powerful, but uniting the aggregate can drive you mad. Yet you and I are not mad. We have to take a short pause here, but I'll return directly with my guest, Rachel Louise Snyder. Subscribe to this program on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Follow us on Twitter at WMC Live, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WMC Live, and visit us at WMClive.com for more information about our show and our guests.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
My guest for the conversation is Rachel Louise Snyder, an American journalist, writer, and professor, and the author of Fugitive Denim, a moving story of people and pants in the borderless world of global trade, the novel, What We've Lost Is Nothing, and No Visible Bruises, What We Don't Know About Domestic Violence Can Kill Us, and the memoir, Women We Buried, Women We Burned, in May of 23, a best book of the year from Kirkus and Audible, among others. Her work has appeared in The New Yorker, The New York Times Magazine, The Washington Post, and on NPR, and she was a 2021 Guggenheim Fellow. No Visible Bruises was awarded the 2020 New York Public Library's Bernstein Award for Excellence in Journalism and the Sidney Hillman Book Award for Social Justice. It won Best Book in Translation in Taiwan in 2021 and has been translated into Russian, Mandarin, Korean, Japanese, Turkish, Spanish, Polish, Romanian, Hungarian, and others. It was named one of the best books of 2019 by the LA Times, Esquire, Amazon, Kirkus, the Library Journal, The Economist, etc. The New York Times included it in their top 10 books. And No Visible Bruises was also a finalist for the Kirkus Award, the National Book Critics Circle Award, the LA Times Book Award, and the Silver Gavel Award. Over the past 2 decades, Snyder has traveled to 60 countries, covering stories of human rights, gender-based violence, natural disasters, displacement, and war. She lived for 6 years in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and 2 years in London before relocating to Washington, D.C. in 2009. And she is currently a professor in creative writing in the MFA program at American University. Here is Rachel Louise Snyder. Rachel, welcome back to Women's Media Center Live.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, well, I think you were here for your was it your first book? It was your previous book, No Visible Bruises, which was a dynamite
It was
book.
my third.
Well,
Yeah.
that was you do keep turning them out, thank God. Thank God you do. Because, they're very important. And this one curls my hair because this is about recent research that you did with, and you partnered with
the Stanford Law School Criminal Justice Center.
Yeah, this, of course, is about asking the basic question: how many of the, I think it's something terrifying, like 12,000 women incarcerated in the United States for homicide. Now that it's the 30th anniversary of the Violence Against Women Act, how many of those women it's a category, homicide, that, by the way, includes everything from manslaughter to first-degree murder. And we don't know, and we've never known who was it because of somebody abusing them. I think, personally, my opinion is always that had something to do with it, but what do I know? But you know, because you have partnered with Stanford Law, and this is the largest study we know of to date. And that number got to important questions at the heart of the legal principles of self-defense. So take it away, Rachel. When do women have the right to kill in self-defense?
Right, justifiable homicide.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we came in I did the study with Debbie Mukamal as the executive director, and she was really spearheaded the survey and the research. And we came in asking who had killed somebody who was abusing them. Seems like a really straightforward question. And part of why we just never knew the answer is that we have, 50 different fiefdoms in America, 50 different Department of Corrections and
Of
50 different
course.
rules around research. And so, there just wasn't any kind of national survey, and still isn't, by the way. Ours is not a national survey. It's the state of California, which is one of the top 3 for incarcerating women. Texas is a big one, Florida is a big one, and California is the other big one. So California alone holds about 10%.
So the
of that
12,000 women.
number.
That's 10% of the 12,000. Okay.
Yeah. So, but what we realized very quickly before we went into any of the prisons or did any of the surveys at all is that question about who killed someone who was abusing them is far too narrow if we really want to figure out how domestic violence intersects with their convictions, with the reason they're in prison in the first place.
Because it involves defining abuse, doesn't it?
Right. I mean, that's part of it. But another way to think about it is, would those women be in prison if not for the violence they were subjected to? So we expanded our survey based on that. We expanded it very early to try to get at those questions. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Somebody who is a victim of abuse, the abuser takes the kids and uses them to try to get the victim to do what he wants. So in many cases, a woman was rushing home to her children who were, had been threatened with death, and she killed a pedestrian walking or something. That happened in a number of cases, a surprising number of cases actually. Or an abuser kills a child, and the victim gets a failure to protect charge, which is also a homicide charge. So both end up going to prison. The abuser goes, but so does she, and she is arguably the victim. That happened in at least as many cases as that more direct, somebody was coming at me and I held out a knife and, killed him before he could kill me. So there's all kinds of ways. And then there's other ways that women get homicide charges for being part of a homicide. Like, for example, they're forced by threat of violence to clean up a crime scene, or they're forced to drive a getaway car, or to help dispose of a body.
Yep.
So there's all these different ways that the violence is not an indirect corollary, but a direct corollary. And those are the cases where I feel like, and that's probably collectively, that's around 80% of that 12,000 number, at least in California. And that is I just think there's no other way to look at that other than a failure of the legal system.
Yeah. God, yes. I mean, I was thinking even more narrowly, but that you've just blown my mind and expanded it, of course, because all of that makes perfect sense.
We had been thinking more narrowly too. I mean, you're not alone in that, and that's why this data is so important. There's another big category of women who are self-medicating. They're drinking or using drugs because of the violence.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
Escape. And then they, get a DUI or, they kill somebody in an accident or something. So, that was another big takeaway was the level of violence that spills over. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's, oh God. And I was thinking of, how hard it would be to prove that he doesn't have to touch her. He can, he can say, where was I hearing this recently? Was it in your materials? Was it in something else somebody sent me? That a guy said he kept a rattlesnake
Yeah, that was mine.
That was yours, you're right. And
That's
said,
in No Visible Bruises. Yeah.
right. And I could just put it in your bed whenever I felt like it. You wouldn't know. I
Yeah.
mean, now he
Yeah.
doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to even put it
That's
in your
right.
bed. But that's abuse. I'm
Right.
sorry, or the way that a man can, sometimes just clench his jaw, and she sees his jaw muscles. She sees his
Mhm.
jaw muscles,
Mhm.
and that's all she needs. I mean, these things can be wildly subtle, and yet they're very, very,
Exactly.
very
Yeah.
real and very wild. So
Anybody who's been in a relationship for any length of time knows how to read another person intimately.
that's right.
And that's what the criminal justice system doesn't account for.
Yeah, yeah.
That the only kind of imagination they have for justifiable homicide is like two men out in the street, out in public, and one of them attacks another one and they get killed. One of them ends up dead, or the proverbial bar fight, or
Right.
that kind of thing.
It's actually fairly simple, but yeah.
Right.
But beyond that, I mean, just recently I was interviewing Emily Van Dyne, Duyne, the author of a book called Loving Sylvia Plath, and was an analysis of what really happened to Sylvia Plath over years of abuse with Ted Hughes, and how the literary establishment has known this and basically put a lid on it. And this book blows it. Thank God. And it's an absolutely superb book. But
I'm gonna have to add that to the list.
What?
I'm going to add that to my TBR list.
Yeah, absolutely add it, because she traces the ways in which it's incredibly subtle, and in which then, of course, when it's backed up by the whole system, in either the legal system or, in her case, the literary world, there's no way out of it but madness. There's no way out of it but death. And and she was drawn to this because she herself got out of an abused relationship. So the one precedes the other, or gives a sad birth to it, and it's amazing. It's just amazing. What can we do? How do we address it? Well, the research is one major thing. What happens to the research?
Well, yeah. So I wrote a very extended New York Times opinion piece on it.
Yeah.
And Stanford Law School's Criminal Justice Center put out a 230-page report on it that is open to anybody interested in reading more. And there's a few things we're going to do. One is we hope to survey more states. We hope to get funding to survey more states. There are some states that are interested that have contacted us. I also have a contract to write a larger a book about this, so I'm gonna be working on that. And then also I'm going out to teach at Stanford Law School for the winter quarter. I'm co-teaching with the Criminal Justice Center folks to try to look at what a self-defense doctrine that included victims of violence might look like.
Oh, wow.
Basically, to make reforms, to suggest reforms to our lawmakers. That's the big hope.
Yeah. Because where do you begin, and where do you end? Yeah. But wow, that would be just dynamite. It sometimes is in a culture. I mean, we've also been on the program doing a series on Indigenous women, on Native women, and of course, particularly in certain areas around the Midwest, northern Midwest of the United States, the abuse is so chronic and so continual that men celebrate when a girl is born, because they know that in about 10 years they can put her out to market. I don't, and the women are organizing against this. The women are doing their bit, God knows. But it needs official backing. It needs money. It needs research. It needs serious people behind it to make some change, because women are dying. And this is I don't know how you do the work you do. I swear to God. Um, mm.
Well,
Well,
can I actually address that for 1 second?
yes,
I
please.
I find it as I get older, I am less agile emotionally, and this research that we did with Stanford, we interviewed 649 women. There were 8 of us doing the interviewing, and it really messed me up. My sleep was affected.
Oh, honey.
I was very short fused. I went to I went to yoga. I got some cranial sacral therapy. Like I was just sort of looking for anything to extrapolate this pit I felt in my gut, in my body. And I think we need to talk about this more. We need to talk about the sort of existential burden of carrying this darkness, not just for people like me who cover it, but like this is our society. This is the world that we live in.
Yeah,
And
and particularly nationally these days. I mean, in other words, in our own country.
particularly,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And I talked to a beloved family member of mine last night who lives in a swing state to try to take her temperature, and she was just it was like listening to Fox News.
Really?
And I thought, yeah, I thought I called her specifically because we have really deep, meaningful conversations, and I thought she will let me, she will listen, and she did. I didn't change her mind.
Oh,
But we're up
God.
against people who just like the sexism, the misogyny, the patriarchy runs so deep that they run out of language and they just live in a feeling.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't even know that the feeling they're living in is created by this patriarchy and this misogyny.
I know. Yeah. It goes unnamed, and it gets repeated again and again and again and again until it's drilled deep into the subconscious. And it is. I mean, I have a friend who falls asleep listening to the news, which I've taken to doing, and I think I shouldn't. Seriously.
I think you shouldn't.
Yeah, you think I shouldn't. So there you go. Because it is so, I mean, last night I fell asleep hearing two things. Hearing that Trump had two people had at a rally of his had emergencies, and so in waiting for them to recover, he danced, Rachel.
Right.
And he played music.
Right.
He played
39 minutes.
he played Pavarotti, and then which is weird. And then he had the Village People, and he stood up there and he swayed and danced. I mean, we have a certifiable maniac,
And Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
Plays Sinead O'Connor, who would have rolled over in her grave had she known.
Oh my God! I mean, yeah, it's incredible. And nobody called him down. Nobody said, "Sir, don't do that." Nobody got him off stage for half an hour. He just stood there, and the audience watched him dance. He danced.
Yeah, and more importantly, nobody walked up on stage, whispered in his ear, "Hey, why don't you say to the crowd, like, let's have a little prayer for them, or let's have a moment of let's hope they're okay. I mean, you compare that. I can't remember.
I think they did. I think they did. There were two women.
But he never said anything.
No, he never said anything. He just ignored him. He turned around. He said, "Let's have the Village People. Let's have." I mean, so it's like I used to wonder, how could the Italians really seriously produce Mussolini? Because my God, they produced great music. How could the Nazis produce Hitler? I mean, when they produced Rilke, how could these national sensibilities foster such people? And now I know the answer. I mean, it's a combination of chosen illiteracy and not forced illiteracy. It's just stupidity and coarseness. And I mean, don't you think? I mean, and I do what you want when you want it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot of things. I think, people don't read anymore.
That's right.
They don't have deep immersions or deep engagement with issues. And they also don't, I mean, this is like really kind of far field, I guess, but they also don't fundamentally understand the difference between the news and editorializing. And it's something that Fox News really perfected in the 90s. They blurred that line. And you remember Crossfire, that old show?
Oh, yeah.
And I think
remember when Jon Stewart went on it and said, "You're hurting us. Don't you understand? You're hurting us."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I despair because I think, I don't even really know what to say. I mean, I write for the New York Times, and nobody on my father's side of the family, nobody would ever read the New York Times. I mean, they would just,
and nothing that you can say. Their dear daughter, their loved daughter, who is a social scientist and a serious person with a magnificent career that has been recognized as a serious person and a social scientist. Nothing you say affects them? Nothing.
No. No, nothing I say affects them. It doesn't matter that I bring receipts. It doesn't matter that I can point to research. I mean, my relative on the phone last night was like, well, the economy was better and the world was safer. And I was like, those are certifiably false. But it didn't matter. It just didn't matter.
That neither are true. And they don't, yeah. Well, I mean,
so I don't know how we're going to help these women who are incarcerated, because they are the least thought of compared to anyone. It's interesting because we did this research in California. California, the most progressive state in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And Gavin Newsom, the governor, has made it foundational in his administration that there be prison reform.
That's
and
right.
San Quentin is marched out repeatedly. Now there's a film fest at San Quentin. He brings visitors to San Quentin. It's beautiful. I'd like to invite him to go into any of the women's prisons in California and see the conditions that those women live under. Because I'll tell you what, they are not living under San Quentin conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their facilities are falling apart.
Ugh.
There's no air conditioning. We're having massive heat waves. There's a woman in July dead in the middle of the yard in the prison in Chowchilla. It's gotten zero coverage.
Mm.
And I want to ask Gavin Newsom, when are you going to start paying attention to the women's prisons?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, nobody ever thinks of that. They don't even make it.
And you know what? I heard a story that I heard that has just stayed with me, which is that men's prisons tend to have better conditions because they have visitors. Women and children line up on the weekends to visit the incarcerated men. Nobody visits incarcerated women. Men don't go and visit incarcerated women.
No, the women go, if they go at all. Yeah, if they go at all.
That's right.
Oh my God. So it spills over even into that. It's just amazing. There's no corner that goes untouched by it. It is extraordinary.
Right.
And it's always violent because it sells. It sells in every way. It sells. It sells emotionally. It sells psychologically. It just it catches fire like the California.
Well, it's entertainment.
Yeah, that's right.
Entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't know, honey, how you do it. My heart really aches for you because I think you do major and deeply, deeply needed work. I mean, I think that this is one of the you know, what would it be um in the movie? Oh, the movie where they plug into the back of their heads. You know the one I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, The Matrix.
Matrix. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think that this is a major plug-in place that you are working on, and that if that could change. Excuse me, my throat is very strange. And that there are lots of other little plug-ins, but this is a main vein, and if it could somehow be unplugged or fiddled with even in some way, I think that it could make major changes. Maybe the next book will, uh, because every time I see a case of a woman who has been sentenced for, and it turns out, her husband, her boyfriend, her guy was, or you don't even need to go that extra step. You just look at the killers. You look at the shooters. You look at the, which is epidemic now in the States, epidemic because of the gun laws, and they're always, if you simply stay with the reading, at some point they were had up for domestic violence. Inevitably, it is never broached. It is always the case. So you think to yourself, at least I think to myself, if they just would, realize that we are the canaries in the mine. I mean, we're it. But the problem is that people listen to the canaries, that miners pay attention to them, and they get out of the fucking mine. Whereas now, with these women, they don't listen to the canaries. They don't. But it's inevitable. If they did it, they practice on women, and then they move on to the general population. And whatever was done to them, whatever horrors were done to them in their childhood, it's cyclical. It just perpetuates itself. And I don't know how to stop it. I know that how has it been stopped before? Has it been ever stopped before, or has it just
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess you're assuming that it has been stopped before. I mean, I think the only time someone stops their own behavior is when they see that there's a benefit for them. And so that, and I mean that to include everything from, stopping drinking, right? Yep. When they go to AA and realize, excuse me, wait, one more. Oh no, that was single.
Bless you.
Usually I'm double.
Bless you. Yeah, no, me too.
So if someone can see the benefit for themselves, so they'll go to AA and stop drinking, or go to NA and stop doing drugs because they can see the benefit for themselves. It's the same thing with abuse. If you can get to an abuser and show them that their life is actually better when they don't abuse, right? When their children are happy to hang out with them instead of scared of them. Like, that's a better life.
Yeah, of course it
is. That is just inarguably a better life. And so you have to create. Sorry, I have a little dog who's got a squeaky toy here.
No, it's quite all right, puppy.
A little puppy, yes.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live, little dog.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I fell for that age-old parental, I promise I'll take care of the puppy.
Okay, no, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Go
exactly,
Go on.
So I think if you can get to someone and show them that their life is better, because we always ask, why didn't she just leave? And that's a problematic question, and we can talk about why that's problematic. But the other question to ask is, wait a minute, the abuser doesn't seem any happier because they're engaging in abuse.
Right. No. On the contrary, the most dangerous time for an abused woman is when if she says, I'm planning to leave. I mean, and when she makes the motions of leaving, then that's when it often escalates to death. So yeah, of course it doesn't. No, you're absolutely right. Have there been studies that prove this?
So there are a lot of studies on abuser intervention programs, and Ed Gondolf did a number of studies on them. And, by and large, the research is, it's not great when it comes to these programs. But I think, I guess I would say there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One is that it takes a long time to create social change. When you think about, you or I think about how many decades it took to get people to wear seatbelts. That was a long,
of course.
That was a long change. The other thing is that we don't have any certification process in this country for abuser intervention. So you have some that are incredibly effective. There's one in Milwaukee called the Alma Center that I just think is amazing and should be emulated everywhere.
The which
center?
And
then you have others, and that's
what's it called again?
Alma, ALMA.
Alma.
Side note: you should have the woman who started that on your show. Her name is Terry Strada.
Okay.
I'm happy to connect you with her.
Great.
Yeah,
stay on the line when we're finished.
Their program, the Alma Center, their program is a year long. And that's just one of the reasons I think it's great. But anybody who comes in and says, we're going to do a 12-week or 16-week anger management program, that is not going to be effective.
Of course.
Ever. And so I think there's huge variation. The other problem is that a lot of the research looks at these abuser intervention programs and doesn't separate out abusers who drop out of the program versus those who graduate from programs and move on. So if they stopped looking at those who dropped out, and you have to, I mean, this would skew your numbers, but you have to say, of those who graduate, this is the number who are trying to be nonviolent. I mean, I think there's a lot of creative solutions or potential solutions that we've never tried.
I see.
I mean, we have either ignoring it or we have the Criminal Justice Center. That's it. Those are our two solutions. That's not very many.
No.
So I think we need to do more creative work there.
Well, I hope you say all of this in the next book. I mean, you said some of it in No Visible Bruises, but this is, and because it reflects the culture now, and because it reflects Trump, and he's running for, I mean, oh my God, he's running for the most powerful job in the world. And because it is infected the culture now. I mean, I think it's absolutely fascinating that they worry about the black male vote, but the black male vote is like the white male vote. I mean, in other words, there is the male vote, and then there is the gender gap, and the gender gap is so dramatic in this election that it takes your breath away.
The racial gap is pretty fascinating too.
Yes, it is, but it's black women.
Yeah.
It's black women and Latinas,
right. Because white women are voting for Trump. It's appalling.
No. White women this time they got it. That white women this time are voting. Karens are voting for Kamala.
I hope so. I don't know.
They really are. They really are. And they put two and two together and they came up with salvation. So it really is a gender gap, but it's a gender gap that is very clear, and also, of course, the Dobbs decision. Oh my God, Rachel! Wow. Well, I'm awfully glad.
I know. I sometimes feel like a harbinger of doom.
No, you're not. You're not. No, that's my job. No, I often feel that way. I think, oh my God, I mean, what am I doing having this podcast? I'm going to depress everybody because if I hit despair, what do they do? But it's very important that we face what's happening, because that's the only way it's going to change, and because I think we can. I believe that we can. And if we can't, I always say, at least this is the only way to go. If the planet's doomed and we're doomed, but at least we're fighting. At least we're trying. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of a better way to go. So I believe it will change, and I believe we can. So, and we're going to face in the election an immediate and quick, soon test of all that, which of course will go on because Trump will continue. They don't give up easily, these men, and
No.
he will continue to say, no, it's all twisted and it's all a plot, and but at some point he's got to run down, and at some point. Maybe we'll run him down.
Yeah.
Anyway, you are a gem, and stay on the line when we finish, so that you can give me the Alma name of the Alma woman, because I would love to get her on the program. But thank you for everything you do, the research, the writing, and just and enduring the terrifying and depressing studies that come into your lap. It's at a huge cost, and I don't think we often realize what it costs the scientists who do this work. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
We have to take another brief pause here, but I will return directly with some fighting words. The Women's Media Center, founded in 2005 by Jane Fonda, Gloria Steinem, and myself, is a progressive, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to make women visible and powerful in media. You can learn more about the WMC at womensmediacenter.com.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Enemies. Now, there's a fighting word. Enemies have now come back into vogue. Remember enemies? Remember Nixon's enemies list, and what a huge scandal that was? Just the discovery that it existed. Do you remember the infamous lawyer Roy Cohn, who prosecuted and persecuted people for having maybe been once a member of a communist party? There were triaged lifetime careers and suicides in his wake. Cohn was a friend, mentor, and teacher of Trump. And Nixon, well, he was a mild-mannered mess compared to Donald. So enemies have now come back into fashion, and you can look them up online if their names are not familiar. Apparently, they have not been waiting for Cohn or Nixon to introduce them. Trump has declared the enemy within as being any American he doesn't like, or by whom he feels threatened, or who has dared question his opinions or his decisions. Now, that's quite a crowd, and he does love big crowds. It includes the free press, all but about 5 or 6 members of Congress, much of the Senate, and of course the conspiratorial machinations of government bureaucracy, otherwise known as the deep state. It embraces entertainers, all Democrats, the left, whatever that is, intellectuals, academics, artists, those noxious liberals, and the middle. Well, it's easier to just list anything that is not the hard, extreme right. It certainly includes aliens and foreigners and immigrants, but not if they demonstrate power and madness, like Viktor Orban of Hungary, like Vladimir Putin of Russia, like the wannabe warlords and tin-pot tyrants who swagger through history as if they owned it permanently. I find myself wondering whether there's any cutoff point for Trump, whether at any place he goes, as they say, too far. I've decided there is not. There can't be, because if there were, Goebbels and Pol Pot and Stalin and Kim Jong-un would have already found it and changed it into something permissible. So that problem is neatly solved. And now Trump wants the military around him. He has formally requested that the government provide him with full-time National Guardsmen and preferably full military officers because, he claims, of the previous assassination attempts. Now, so far, this demand has not been successful, but then it's young. Give people a chance to get used to it. I don't know about you, but I went into full red alert on this one. Full red alert is my standard operating position when the military is called in on anything. Never mind that despite a history of numerous assassination attempts, and some successes, of our presidencies, no one has ever called in the military to defend them, until now. And let's ignore for the time being our knowledge that Trump loves parades of armored tanks and mounted machine guns, men on horseback brandishing swords, and thousands of soldiers goose-stepping in unison. He's always loved these toys since he was sent to military school. He requested them. He pleaded for them at his inaugural, but he didn't get them. Aww. Saints and sinners in heaven, keep him from getting them now, because the rest of us are too busy keeping track of his widening inner circle, which is capable of expanding or constricting at his will. But now, at last, even the inner circle has finally come forth from behind the curtain. Not only, of course, the one marked by Trump for death, Mike Pence, the vice president who escaped hanging, but the 4-star and 3-star generals. General retired Mark Milley, the highest-ranking military man in the nation, and as the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, head of all armed forces, calling Trump, quote, fascist to the core and the most dangerous man in this country, close quote. And there was Marine Corps former General John Kelly, former Chief of Staff to Trump. More than 100 military men of the highest ranks joined them in statements and in letters, variously proclaiming Trump a fascist or having fascist tendencies or of a fascist sensibility. Plus, former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, former White House counsel Ty Cobb, former National Security Advisor John Bolton, former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, former Attorney General William Barr, and basically anyone who has ever worked closely with Trump and still possesses a soul. It would have been nice if any, or even some, of these gentlemen had stepped forward at the time, but hey, better late than never. Never is coming very soon. There is only one act that can stop him now. It's your vote. And that's our show for this week. You can follow me on social media at The Robin Morgan. You can check out my blog at robinmorgan.net, and you can find my new novel, Parallax, and my just-out new book of poems, Harvesting Darkness, wherever books are sold. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. Executive producer, as well as founding and sustaining sponsor, Regina K. Scully. WMC president and co-executive producer for this program, Julie Burton. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us. Join us next time on Women's Media Center Live.